practice number 2 in the books for Ohio State football, spring practice. That's Mick Walker right there. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Let's talk about it, Mick. A lot to break down here. We saw an hour of Ohio State football practice. We talked to the quarterbacks, we talked to the running backs, Coach Carlos Loughlin, Coach Billy Fessler, and then their respective units all speaking to the media. It's kind of odd that there are only 3 quarterbacks, but that's the situation that Ohio State is in right now. What did you learn overall? I'm going to obviously talk about quarterbacks, but what did you learn?
No, I was really I was at you stopped and talked to James Peoples at his table when he started speaking with the running backs. I popped over and listened to C.J. Donaldson, and just hearing him talk about why he wanted to come to Ohio State because of Carlos Loughlin, and then kind of getting to hear Carlos Loughlin talk about him. The whole journey of C.J. Donaldson and what he probably can be at Ohio State starts with that relationship, and it was kind of interesting to hear the start of his journey to Columbus.
Yeah, both of those guys have a lot of talent, and I think that they're the obvious candidates to be number 1 and number 2. But the thing that everybody keeps reminding everybody of, and I think everybody being the people in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, reminding everybody outside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, is that Carlos Loughlin is a no-nonsense guy. He told the running backs today during their drills to unhitch the U-Hauls and put some shoes on because he wanted them to be quicker. So I thought that was kind of funny. He's not handing these guys anything. And we talked about that a little bit when we talked to him a couple weeks ago, but also it's worth reminding people, you think James Peoples is the number 1 back. If he doesn't perform in spring ball, he's not going to be the number 1 back. You think C.J. Donaldson's going to be the good complement for James Peoples. Well, why can't he be the good complement for Bo Jackson if Bo comes in and earns that role? So it's just an interesting dynamic that they're in right now. I did watch the running backs a little bit today before we get into, we're going to launch into quarterback talk and probably talk about quarterbacks for 15 minutes here. But, watching the running backs, they all look pretty fluid. I think Donaldson carries that weight extremely well. He looks like he's about 230. He packs about 237. I think they want to still get him down into that 230, 225 range without having him lose some of that pop as a short yardage back. I think he's probably, if you're looking for a comparison, I would say he's probably a little bit more advanced than Chip Trayanum was.
There you go.
And I think that's probably where we'll land on this. Whereas you're going to compare Bo Jackson and James Peoples to a little bit more of those traditional Ohio State backs that are legendary in this program. So, I think that's where you can kind of start to see this thing going. But again, the running back situation is they're not going to hand anybody anything. Carlos Loughlin reaffirmed that today. He's obviously a no-nonsense guy. But all these running backs also fully understand what they're getting into with Carlos Loughlin, and that's probably for the best.
Yeah, luckily for us, the running backs drills happen right in front of the media area, so we get to see a lot of running backs drills. And I was watching one with Carlos Loughlin and James Peoples was going through. James Peoples went through it once, got yelled at, so he had to go back and don't cheat the drill. He did what to my eyes looked like the exact same thing again, but it was good. There's an attention to detail there by Carlos Loughlin that is even past what you and I can see sometimes. But it's good to see how he pushes those guys, and it's good to see, how Billy Fessler started to push some of these quarterbacks, and that's kind of what he talked about when he spoke with the media today too.
Yeah, I think it's good attention to detail that you noticed that from the running backs there too. Mick Walker, attention to detail. They fit together like a hand in a glove. The quarterbacks. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about quarterbacks for the rest of this show, folks. This is going to be a quarterback show. Julian St, Lincoln Keenholz, Tavien St. Clair. I didn't hear a word from Tavien because Julian spoke at the same time, and as much as I would like to talk to Tavien, all eyes are on number 10, the Calabasas kid. No, he's not from Calabasas. He's from Carlsbad kid, the Carlsbad kid. I apologize to the folks of Carlsbad and Calabasas and to the entire St. family. I will not mess that up again. But the Southern California kid, Julian St, you gravitate toward him because of the potential, because of what we saw in the practice field today. For me, before I get into what he said, it's the practice notes. The release is off the charts. Seriously. Even Billy Fessler was talking a little bit about that release of it's a really quick release, but he said it's got to be everything else that goes with it, the footwork and the timing and the arm, the throwing power, which Billy Fessler said he's got to get better at his arm strength. So that's something that we can note about Julian St. But the quick release and the footwork are the two things with St that just stand out, and they stand out compared to really any quarterback I've seen at Ohio State since number 7. And, we don't really need to...
Both of them.
Yeah, both number 7s. That quick release that you come to know from those first-round Ohio State quarterbacks. Hey, those are lofty comparisons to make, but hey, we only make them because they're former 5-stars who came into the program and started in Dwayne's case, year 3, but in CJ's case, year 2. It's that's the expectation here. That's the standard. And as General Bob Carpenter, as Schlegel likes to say, as Jim Tressel used to say, the standard is the standard. And so, that's what we hold these guys to. it's so clear that if it's just on quick release and footwork, this is Julian Sand's job.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is. It's leadership, which I think Lincoln Keenholz is starting to grasp at a pretty advanced level right now. It's being able to control the locker room, which, it's interesting that Lincoln and Julian were both talking about that today. It's just everything that comes with this job, both of these guys, and I kind of exclude Tavien from this just because he's still so green. Like, both of these guys kind of grasp what this situation is and what the gravity of it means, because if you're the starting quarterback at Ohio State, you have to understand that.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Tavien when it comes back around to me, but I think the other standard that has been set by the quarterback that's in a lot of those pictures holding up trophies and roses in his mouth is Will Howard. He set a big standard when it comes to leadership and what, like you said, how he handles the locker room, how he handles this team. And I didn't get
how he handles the media.
How he handles the media. I didn't get to watch much of Julian St. I saw about one interaction. I think somebody made him laugh. It was I don't know if it was a funny question or what. It seemed like a guy that's a little bit more quiet and reserved. It's kind of handled that media and spotlight well, considering it was about 30 people around him at one table today.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, that's the situation here. There are a lot of us idiots out here trying to ask him a bunch of questions. But I thought it was interesting, like, Julian's attention to detail. We kind of got a little bit of an insight into that. He said one of the things that you have to be at Ohio State, you have to have the cleanest locker if you're the Ohio State quarterback. You have to be the first one in, the last guy out. You have to be the toughest player. That's kind of the motto here, the mantra that Billy Fessler and Ryan Day are hammering into these quarterbacks' heads. But I think that was interesting where he even brought up, like, yeah, you have to have the cleanest locker. How you look matters in this building and how you interact with people. He said that one thing you noticed about Will Howard was that everybody in the building liked him. And that's a huge thing for an Ohio State quarterback. Everybody in the building has to like you and gravitate toward you. Well, Will Howard had that. It was like gravitational pull. He was like the damn sun. So, like, I think the quarterbacks understand that they have to be that. And, Lincoln talked about it too, the leadership aspects and the things that you have to do. And, he learned from Kyle McCord's leadership style, which was more by example, quiet, reserved. Then he learned the most vocal quarterback Ohio State's had in a long time, and Will Howard. And he can kind of take those and morph them together, whereas the only thing Julian knows is Will Howard's leadership style. Yeah. I guess Jalen Milrose, because he was with Alabama for like a cup of coffee. But for an acai bowl, I guess, if we go back to the Southern California thing. But, like, it's not a thing where he learned from multiple different leadership styles. He only knows one. And so Julian has to take what Will did and transform it into what Julian can do, whereas Lincoln can kind of take a little bit from a bunch of different quarterbacks and kind of put that into his own leadership style. I think that's really interesting off the field, because to be honest, like, we haven't seen enough on the field to be able to dissect these guys.
Yeah, I mean, the little we get to see, and I think the drill's designed to see it, so we can't read into it too much, but the little we see both of them when it comes to the drills, they go through a lot of command, a lot of pointing, a lot of directing. But again, I think we watch Ryan Day, Billy Fessler kind of in the background of that, and I think they want to see that call out, hey, there's a hot here, this type of stuff. So that was good to see on the field. I just thought the little I saw of them, and we can go back to you in a second, but like we said, there was 30, 40 media members, and it's easy for, if you're an Ohio State player in this situation, to kind of let the media take the whole conversation. I felt like Julian controlled it, which is something that Will really did well. Just when he got to the podium, he controlled whatever the conversation was.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me on the field, real quick, like, I think Lincoln has made a tremendous jump accuracy-wise. I think accuracy is largely something that's not taught, but I think Lincoln has made a tremendous jump in his accuracy, and we got a little bit of insight from Billy Fessler on that today. The accuracy looks better. He just looks like a more comfortable player. Lincoln said that he's up from 185 when he was a freshman up to 210 right now. Julian said that he's, up in weight, trying to bulk up a little bit for the preparation of being the guy here for 16, 17 games, whatever it takes to win another national championship. Like, on the field, they both look pretty good. And, obviously we're kind of excluding Tavien from this, and that might be unfair to Tavien. Maybe he wins the job. But right now, all eyes are on number 3 and number 10, and who's going to get it done. They both handled today extremely well. We won't see them throw another pass because we're not allowed to watch any more practice until, I think it's like early April. So this is what we have to go off of, and so that's what we're going to continue to go off of with both of these guys.
Yeah, going back to number 9, which is Tavien St. Clair, I was pretty impressed with the little bit I got to hear. I heard most of his podium there, and he did a really good job handling the media. It's tough because, like you said, Julian Sand's at one table, Carlos Laughlin's at the other table, and then you have Tavien St. Clair in the middle. So there's people popping around. So he got a lot of duplicate questions, handled all those well, and kind of just talked about, well, I think a lot of us like to assume that because he was around so much for the Springs in the past that he has some kind of leg up. I think he values that experience, and Billy Fessler even talked about it. But at the end of the day, when he left campus, he still has to go back and make sure he's running Bell Fountain's offense. So Now he's running the Ohio State offense, and I think he's trying to still learn it. There was a couple times today catching snaps under center, catching snaps from the shotgun, where he looked like he was still a freshman.
He looks like a freshman, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, physically, he looks like he might be the most physically imposing of the three, but mental-wise, some of the stuff, he's still going through it, and he's a freshman. Second practice of the day, and so I was pretty impressed with that. And overall, like you said, big quarterback day. Also, they had Bo Bentley, the on 300 quarterback that's recruiting-wise up on campus today, and that's why I think Billy Fessler, who was slightly late to our meeting with him, was probably just spending some time with Bo and his dad. Big quarterback day in Columbus. That's one thing that we can certainly say from our observations today.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop because we're going to talk a lot more on Thursday about all these guys on the Lettermen Row YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, you see what I'm wearing. I wear it every day into the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. I get a lot of compliments on it as well from folks around the Woody. It is a rowback hoodie. They have not just hoodies, they have shorts, pants, polos, hats. I got to get one of those white rowback hats. It's got to happen at some point. Go to rowback.com, RHOBACK.com, Lettermen20, Lettermen 20 is the discount code. You get a generous 20% off coupon for any of your first purchase at rowback.com, RHOBACK.com. Best fit, best feel. I obviously abide by the rowback code. You should as well. I'm going to go play golf in it at some point here in the next couple weeks as it starts to warm up. Quarterback competition, the other thing that's warming up around here, the Buckeyes are in full swing now. They're going to put the pads on Friday, get them popping a little bit for practice number 3. We won't be here to watch it, but we'll have full breakdown of it. Whatever we can scrape from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center about Friday's practice, you'll be able to see on LettermenRow.com and the Lettermen Lounge message board where Mick Walker resides, where Alex Lightman resides, and obviously myself, Spencer Holbrook. It's $1 right now for your first week. That's right, $1 for your first week of Lettermen Row. Go there right now, get that deal, $1 for your first week. Then go to LettermenRow.com. Like the video below, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you back in here whenever they let us in here because that's what we do. Cover the Buckeyes 365 days a year. We'll see you guys back here later, and we'll see you over on the Lettermen Row YouTube channel on Thursday.